am going to watch myself. I started about 8 this morning. This message was important for someone to hear today. Otherwise, I don't think I was not expecting to be moved. The best thing you said in that video was, one of the most important things that you can do when you are launching your career as an author is to start a media channel of some sort. Now, that could be like this channel on YouTube. It could be a podcast. It could be doing Facebook Lives. Even Instagram can be turned into your own media channel. But producing regular content is critical for anyone who is going to be an author by trade. If you want to just write a book and put it out there and, never see book sales that amount to anything resembling a full-time career, then you don't need this. You can scroll on, tune into another video. But if you would like to live as an author, be able to possibly quit your 9-to-5 job and just write and speak for a living, you gotta have regular content through a media channel. Now, I'm going to start a series today that is bringing me joy already because I found my first attempt at a media channel. It was 10 years ago. And I've changed so much since then. I'm 50 now. In these videos, I was 40 years old, and you can see the difference physically. But what I want to do is bring 10 more years of wisdom and critique myself. So in the next few videos in this series, I am going to watch myself and give myself a critique. Here's what I want you to do on the other side of the screen. Watch with me and see what you think. Notice in yourself the things that you're trying to do and apply my coaching and critique. The coaching and critique that I give to my past self, I want you to apply it to yourself now. Let's watch. The month of May was always the graveyard for resolutions. Every January 1st, I would promise myself this would be the year that I would read through the Bible cover to cover. And for a couple of months I did well, but about March or April I started slowing down, getting behind. And because I read through the one-year Bible, I would make a practice of turning all the way back to the last date when I had read. I would cringe when I saw how long it had been, and then purpose to catch up to the current day's reading assignment. I would turn pages so quickly, trying to read through 2 weeks worth of assignments in one sitting. There was no life in that for me, no health. So of course, by the middle of May, the whole Read My Bible initiative just kind of died. And I promised to resurrect it every January 1st. But after a couple of years of this unsuccessful cycle, I had to ask myself, why am I even doing this when it's not working? I wanted to read my Bible, but my motivation was off. For one thing, I felt compelled to read it because I'm a Christian and Christians should be reading their Bible every day, I thought. But compulsion will never be enough to bring you back to the Word of God when you've walked away from it. Also, I wanted to complete the task. I wanted to say that I had done it. Read all the way from Genesis to Revelation without stopping. But completion will never be enough to draw you back to the Word of God when you've walked away from it. It wasn't until I stopped seeing the Bible as a duty to fulfill and as something that I truly, desperately needed, then I was able to read through the Bible. I started seeking the face of my Creator so that I could know His heart for me. Then I was communing with Him, and communion is the only thing that will bring you back to the Word of God when you've walked away from it. So now the month of May isn't quitting time for me. I just keep going. I'll open to the day's date, whatever day I'm on. Even if I've gotten behind, I look for something that applies to me today. Even if I'm starting right in the middle of a story, there's something there that's fitting, that's rewarding, that's rich and applicable, and I wouldn't want to miss it. This week, I opened the Bible on the day's date, even when I'd gotten behind, and I came across 2 verses I hadn't really paid attention to before. It was in 1 Samuel chapter 13, and we read that there were no blacksmiths in the land of Israel in those days. The Philistines wouldn't allow it, for fear that they would make swords and spears for the Hebrews. I thought to myself, wow, what a brilliant military strategy, because you don't have to fight as hard if you can keep your opponent unarmed. Also, I noticed that the Philistines were not driven just to oppress the people of God. That's not why they were keeping the blacksmiths out of the country. They were driven by their own fear, because they were terrified of what would happen if the people of God finally were armed. Isn't the same thing true today? We have an enemy who faces us on the battlefield every day, and sometimes we go in without any weapons. And that's his chief operative. It's just to keep the people of God unarmed. It doesn't matter what he's going to do in the battle. Sometimes we try to anticipate a strategy, like what kind of heartache or loss or setback would he cause. It's not about what he brings to the battlefield. It's about what you and I bring to the battlefield. Hebrews 4:11 tells us that the word of God is living and active and sharper than a double-edged sword. This is our weapon. With this, we can claim victory every time, no matter what. This message took about, let's say all day to film. I started about 8 this morning. Right now it is 7:10 p.m. This morning the light was great. Right now, I'm working with just lighting from the camera, and I can't tell you the number of problems that I faced in a little video that I thought it would take me 15 minutes tops. The battery exploded in the light. It got battery acid all over a chair in my living room. I fell twice. One time I twisted my ankle. The other time I almost ripped off my fingernail. My cheap little tripod fell over and crashed. The battery in the camera ran out in the middle. I had to recharge it. The card was full and I didn't know. One time the camera just shut off when I wasn't expecting it. My neighbor started mowing his lawn. Someone came and started mowing my lawn. Of course, I didn't want to stop that right in the middle of it. But there was constantly some kind of opposition as I tried to film this message. Even one time, I had positioned the microphone in such a way that even though I had filmed an almost perfect message, when I got over to my computer and listened to it, the only thing you could hear was my heartbeat. And I think that's fitting, because what I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes, that's my heartbeat for the people of God. I don't want to watch you walk into the battle unarmed like I've done so many times. It makes a tremendous difference if we just have the sword in our hearts and in our hands. If we know God's plans for us and can stand upon his promises, then our enemy is the one who is unarmed. This message was important for someone to hear today. Otherwise, I don't think I would have met so much opposition. Hear me. We have a sword, but it's useless on a table. Pick it up. Well, my goodness. Okay, so I was not expecting to be moved by that message, but I have some critique for you, Nika. And I hope anyone who is watching this video takes this critique to heart. If you've been trying to finish your first book and somehow you just keep getting stuck, then stop and take a deep breath, because I've got the perfect solution for you. The best step for you to take is to join the Bless Your Book Challenge. During the Bless Your Book Challenge, I'll show you biblical principles so that you can pray and release blessing in 5 key areas. We're going to bless your message, bless your money, bless your publisher, bless your platform, and bless your breakthrough. That's how you get unstuck and start moving into the career and the ministry that you have always dreamed of. You are called to be an author. You know what that means. You've been anointed and appointed, prepared and positioned for such a time as this. What are you going to do with it? I hope that you'll join the next Bless Your Book Challenge. Go to blessyourbook.com or click the link in the description below. Okay, so here's what I wish I could tell myself 10 years ago as a brand new content creator. Number one, great job using alliteration. It always helps a message to flow smoothly. You said compelled, complete, and communion. So when you use alliteration, it draws people's attention. They might even rewind and say, did I miss the first one? I can hear her starting every word with C. It was a great job to use questions. Do you desire to commune with God? Do you, Jesus? And do you feel compelled to read the Bible? You know, I read recently that test scores go up when a math word problem has the word you in it. So that's why in tests, math word problems will say you are traveling this rate of speed and you hit a speed bump at this location. And when you put that next to other word problems that are saying Sheila was moving this rate of speed and David hit a speed bump, those written in third person, test scores go down because test takers pay attention. We can't help it. We pay attention to the word you. So good job using questions with the word you in it and addressing your audience. Fantastic job of connecting two themes across the Old Testament and the New Testament. First Samuel, when the Philistines did not allow them to use swords or create swords, and then connecting that. So that was historical, connecting it to the abstract, that the word of God is currently our sword. Good job there. That was edifying to me 10 years later when I hear it. And I really appreciate your transparency that you were saying all the things that had gone wrong, because a lot of times people watch a video and they think, oh, that must have been easy. So I appreciate your transparency saying, you know, this wasn't that easy. Be careful not to complain though. I heard a little bit of complaining there. And so back off on that, be transparent with people, but recognize, yeah, hardships come for everybody. You know, we don't complain about it, but you can be realistic about it. I noticed that you said I had almost filmed a perfect message when you talked about the microphone recording your heartbeat. That's going to be something that will stymie you in the future. If you keep trying to film perfect messages, let go of that idea and just film a message. It does not have to be a perfect message. I'm thinking that probably you took so long to film the video because you were wanting to achieve a perfect message. Here's what I want to tell you. You had no editing in that whole, you recorded a sequence without any stops. That was your idea of a perfect message 10 years ago. I want to tell you, editing covers a multitude of sins. Give yourself the permission to make mistakes, to stumble over your words. It can be cut out through editing. So videos will take longer when you try to make them perfect. And by the way, it doesn't even all have to be edited out. Your viewers will appreciate, again, they appreciate transparency. And when you stumble, when you laugh, when when you're imperfect, they feel connected to you. That's another C word for you. They'll feel connected to you when you allow yourself to be imperfect. You did a great job sitting in front of that big window with natural lighting. It looked good. You didn't even have all the bells and whistles. I remember you had a small light back then that was hardly doing the job, but look, you thought it didn't look that great, but as I'm watching the video today, I'm like, that video looks great. You're probably being a little too hard on yourself with lighting and with everything put together and how it looks. Good background. It was colorful and pretty. You probably put a little too much emphasis on like the background itself, because you're off to the side, almost afraid to sit front and center and really give your message, as if people are noticing the decor. And maybe they are a little bit, but really let people see your face from the front. Let people hear your message and be bold. You're gonna need a microphone, because Your voice, again, your voice is the most important part. Microphones like this one are not that expensive. So anyone out there who is thinking of starting a media channel of any kind, go ahead and start with a microphone. This is a Yeti Blue microphone. I happen to have it now on a mount, on a stand, but for years I just had it mounted with the mount that it came with, which was just, and this is, you can get one for a couple $100. A really good microphone makes a difference. Even you can get a mounted lapel mic, and that would have helped that video. So if you're gonna invest in equipment, nowadays a phone has a fantastic video camera. So you can go with a phone in landscape mode, landscape, not vertical, but landscape mode. You can film a fantastic video. You don't need a fancy camera. But even if you use your phone, get a microphone that you can plug into the phone, and a wireless mic you can put on your lapel, and the receiver will be plugged into your phone. Or you can even have a microphone with a wire. But that would be the one piece of equipment that I would recommend at that point. And everything else was great. The best thing you said in that video was, it's not about what the enemy brings to the battlefield. It's about what you bring to the battlefield. And so I want to encourage anyone who's watching this today, and I want to speak to myself in the past and say, keep going, because it is not about what the enemy brings to the battlefield. You listed all of the things that went wrong. The video was not even about all that. It was about what you brought to the battlefield, in spite of the enemy's attempts to derail you. So wherever you are today, take courage. Put that first video out there. That was my first video. And I put it out there. Put your first video out there. Put your first podcast out there. Put your first Facebook Live or Instagram Live out there. It's not going to get easier until you start getting more practice. So don't overthink it. Stop trying to create a perfect message and just hit record. God is with you. And He is who you're really bringing to the battlefield.